Find somewhere comfortable. You don't need to follow any of this closely. You don't need to remember a single word. Just let the sounds arrive and let them drift past you, like clouds moving slowly overhead. There is nothing to hold on to tonight, nothing to figure out. We are going to spend a little time with mountains, not climbing them, not studying them, just sitting with them. The way you might sit beside something very old and very quiet, simply glad that it exists. Mountains have a way of making everything else feel distant. The noise of the day, the lists, the small worries that gathered around you between morning and now. All of that can settle. It is already settling. You may close your eyes, if they haven't closed already. Let your body grow a little heavier. Let your breath slow to whatever pace feels easy. We are in no hurry tonight. We have nowhere at all to be. The mountains will wait for us. They are patient. They have been patient for an almost unimaginable length of time. And that, in itself, is where we begin. There is something worth sitting with in the fact that mountains breathe, not the way we breathe, not in any way you could watch or measure in a human lifetime, but breathe they do, in a sense, rising and falling over spans of time so vast that the word slow hardly begins to describe them. A mountain range takes tens of millions of years to rise to its full height, and then, just as gently, just as gradually, it begins to return to the earth. It is said that the mountains we see today, the great ranges, the high ridges, the wide plateaus draped in snow, are all somewhere in the middle of that journey. Not new, not finished, simply continuing at a pace we cannot feel beneath our feet, but which is happening nonetheless. Let that settle. The process begins deep, far deeper than any mine or tunnel, deeper than any place a person has ever stood. Somewhere in the earth's interior, enormous plates of rock, vast and ancient, and impossibly heavy, are in motion. They have always been in motion. They move perhaps a few centimeters each year, which sounds like very little, and is, in one sense. But given enough time, even a few centimeters becomes an ocean crossed, a continent rearranged, mountain range lifted into the sky. When two of these plates meet, something has to give. If the collision is gentle enough, over time enough, the rock at the boundary begins to crumple, the way a cloth crumples when you push two edges toward one another across a table. Slowly, the crumpled stone folds upward, folds again, rises. The process is called orogeny, which is simply a quiet word for mountain building, and it has been happening on this planet for as long as there has been solid rock to build with. The Himalayas, for example, are still rising. The Indian subcontinent, drifting north across geological time, has been pressing against the Eurasian plate for around 50 million years. The collision is ongoing. The mountains it produces are still climbing, still adding, millimeter by patient millimeter, to their own height. Every year, the peaks grow a little taller. Not enough for any person to notice in a lifetime. But it is happening right now, beneath the snow and the wind and the silence. Breathe. There is something deeply restful in that thought, that somewhere, at this very moment, a mountain is being born, and no one needs to watch it happen. It does not require attention. It has its own unhurried schedule, older than memory, older than life itself. And while some mountains rise, others are quietly, slowly disappearing. The Appalachian Mountains, which run along the eastern side of North America, were once as tall as the Himalayas are today. That is difficult to imagine now, looking at their gentle, rounded shapes, their soft green slopes worn smooth by time. But 300 million years ago, they were vast and sharp and cold, the kind of mountains that tear at the sky. They have been eroding ever since. Rain falls on them. Rivers carry their sediment away. Wind rounds their edges year by year, century by century, age by age. What remains is still beautiful, deeply, quietly beautiful, but it is a different kind of beauty. The beauty of something that has already lived its most dramatic chapter and has now settled into something softer. You may have drifted. That's fine. Erosion is not destruction. Not exactly. The stone that leaves a mountain does not disappear. It travels. It moves down rivers in pieces, too small to see, carried in the slow brown water toward lower ground. It settles in valleys and deltas, layers upon layers, pressed by time and weight into new rock, may one day be folded upward again into a new range. In some future the earth has not yet imagined. Nothing is wasted. The mountain gives itself to the valley. The valley gives itself, in time, to the sea. The sea gives its sediment to the floor, and the floor, compressed and heated and slowly moved, returns to the surface somewhere else, in some other form, in some other age. It is a kind of breathing, an ancient rhythm, too slow for us to hear, but present all the same. There is no rush. Some mountains are not born from collision, but from fire. Deep beneath the crust, pockets of molten rock wait, patient and vast, for a weakness in the stone above. When that weakness comes, when the crust thins or cracks, the magma rises. It moves slowly through channels in the rock, sometimes over thousands of years, building pressure with a heaviness that has nowhere else to go. When it finally reaches the surface, it does not always arrive with force. Sometimes it simply flows. Thick, glowing, slow-moving rivers of molten stone that spread and cool and harden in layers. Each eruption adds another layer. Each layer raises the ground a little higher. Over centuries, over millennia, a volcanic mountain grows from nothing, rising from the flat earth like a thought becoming solid. The Hawaiian Islands were built this way, entirely. There was no land there once, only open ocean, deep and still. Then, over millions of years, volcanic eruptions on the ocean floor piled lava upon lava, layer upon quiet layer, until the rock broke the surface of the sea. The islands that exist today are simply the tallest part of enormous undersea mountains, most of which remain hidden, patient, beneath the water. Mauna, measured from its base on the ocean floor, is taller than Everest. Most of it is invisible. Most of it is resting in the dark water, unhurried and immense. Just the sound of the words. There is something in that image that feels right for the very late hours. The idea that most of something vast is out of sight, that what we can see is only a small, quiet portion of what is truly there. That depth and scale exist beyond the edges of what is visible, patient and still, not requiring our attention to continue being enormous. Volcanic mountains also die in their own time, in their own way. As the tectonic plate above a hot spot moves, the volcano drifts away from its source of heat. The magma no longer reaches it. The eruptions slow and cease. The mountain, now extinct, begins the long process of erosion. Rain carves its slopes. Rivers move its stone downhill. The sharp peak softens. The steep sides grow gentle. And over millions of years, the mountain sinks sleep well.